Good people, welcome back to Mo's Knows. I'm your host, Mose. We're back with another What We Know. Taking a look at the action from week 8. We got some other stuff to talk about tonight, too. The trade deadline was today at 4 p.m. and moves were made. We're going to take a look at it all. We'll be right back in a second.
Sorry, Mose couldn't be here, but he doing the Mrs. Mosley thing right now. You know, they're out doing. They're enjoying Valentine's Day is what I was trying to say.
I got you.
Y'all the worst.
You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. I guarantee real taste, ain't no faking that at all. If you don't know, you gon' know. Mose knows, tune into the show. Not a game, nitty gritty, ready go committee. Mose should be the CEO. Too solid, too real, too 100. I'ma keep it real when you don't. Just that real gold talk. 24 karat words. San Francisco 49er fam. Realest squad on the earth. The 5 God, number 5, taking us to 6. Young killer Trey Lance. New era, new season. Mose got you covered. Go ahead and subscribe. 2022 this year. Got a whole nother vibe. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. Mose know it all. Tune in for the vibe. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing, you don't know nothing, but I know that. Mose knows.
What's going on? Give me a second, family. I got some stuff going on behind the scenes over here. Let me mute this real quick. Bop, 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 bop. I got people asking for the link like they don't know how to get to the show. Family members is tripping right now. Let me see if I can open this up real quick. Bam, 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 bam. All right, it's about to get crazy in here. It's about to get crazy in here. My cousin Brett asked for a link. It's about to get crazy in here. Before we get started, let's shout out to the people that's in the chat. We got Melissa. What's up? Let's go, fam. Hope you are well, Mose. Much love to you from to Jersey. 49er Chanel. What up, Faithful? My man, what's going on with you? We got my bro, Mike. He said, I'm with you, big dog. I'm with you too, Mike. Thank you so much for being in the building. And we got a really special guest tonight. She thinks she funny. She thinks she cute. She talking about some hey Mose like she don't know who I am. That's right. Mrs. Mose Knows is in the building tonight. My lovely wife taking a break away from school, taking a break away from work, downstairs relaxing, doing what she does, holding down the fort while I'm up here in the studio recording. So much love, much respect to the beautiful Mrs. Mosley. I love you so much. You know that. We got the very special Miss Deb in the building. Look, Miss Deb, I don't know if I have enough room for all these gifts you sending. I got my jacket. I'm gonna wear that this weekend, get it nice and fresh. Oh man, listen, Mike, just shared on my YouTube. Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate the love, man. I appreciate you sharing it on your YouTube channel as well, man. Anything helps. Love the love. Before we get started, hold on. I can kind of hear myself hear the echo. Honey, you got to turn the TV volume down a little bit. I shouldn't be able to hear myself all the way downstairs, honey. I can hear her downstairs talking about something. Oh, yeah, it was TV was just a little too loud. I love the support, baby. I love the enthusiasm, but the echo was kind of throwing your man off a bit. Thank you. Hallelujah. Amen. Okay, but real jokes aside, before we start this show, First, what I want to do is send some condolences, um, both outside of the realm of football and inside the realm of football. First, if you haven't heard of the untimely passing of Takeoff, one of the members of the Migos, there was an incident where he is no longer with us. So our prayers and condolences go out to him and his family. An unfortunate situation, and you never want to hear that. Within the NFL community, I don't want to mess this up, but within the NFL community, there was the passing of Adam Zimmer. So longtime NFL head coach Mike Zimmer, the former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, his son Adam Zimmer. We got news that he passed away as well. So condolences to Mike Zimmer and prayers to him and his family for the passing of his son. At being a father myself, I would be a mess if I had to share news of one of my children passing. So prayers and condolences to the families of Takeoff and Adam Zimmer, two lives that we lost way too soon before they needed to go. I just know from my faith and my belief that God has a plan. I don't always believe that death is always in that plan, but I know that God can take these tragic moments. And as my wife always says, who's in the chat, he can give you beauty for your ashes. So we just pray that God comfort both of these families through this tragic time. And he find ways to make them smile as they remember their loved one. Should have ended with that because it's kind of hard to then just go right into talking to football. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss hitting that point. Before we get into the games, before we get into the results of week 8, NFL trade deadline was today, people. And a lot of stuff went down. We're gonna talk about some of it right now. I hope y'all can see that on the screen. So we knew about some of the early trades, right? Robbie Anderson from the Cardinals from the Panthers to the Cardinals. Christian McCaffrey from the Panthers to the 49ers. Robert Quinn from the Bears to the Eagles. But this week, starting after Sunday's games, had a lot of fury of activity. Roquan Smith was the first dice to fall. He gets traded from the Bears to the Baltimore Ravens. Then today, Tuesday, last day, trade deadline is at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whole lot of activity started to happen. An interdivision trade. The Lions moving on from TJ Hockenson and sending him to the Minnesota Vikings. The Miami Dolphins get a necessary pass rusher in Bradley Chubb. I didn't even know you could trade suspended players. Falcons trade Calvin Ridley to the Jaguars. Chase Claypool finds a new home, going from Pittsburgh to Chicago. William Jackson, cornerback from the Commanders, is now in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. As a part of the Bradley Chubb deal, Chase Edmonds goes from Miami to Denver. To fill his role, the Dolphins make a trade with the San Francisco 49ers, acquiring Jeff Wilson Jr. Nyheim Hines goes from the Colts to the Bills, a position that the Bills wanted to fill. They needed more productivity from that running back spot. And then quarterback Rashad Fenton goes from the Chiefs to the Falcons. There were a few other trades there, but these are some of the big moves that happened today before the trade deadline. Let's go back to this first list. Roquan Smith to Baltimore. I like it. I think Baltimore is known for their defense. You pair Roquan Smith with Patrick Queen, and now you have two young studs at the linebacker position. Traditionally, Baltimore is a 3-4 defense. So now they have two solid studs in the middle of that linebacking core. I don't know if this moves the needle forward for them that much. I think a lot of their issues were more on the secondary. They were able to generate a decent amount of pass rush. They were able to stop the run. I think it was the secondary has been the Achilles heel for this team. But maybe bringing in a guy like Roquan Smith who can kind of help you, and you can kind of change coverages, because Roquan Smith, with his speed, he can drop in coverage and cover tight ends and cover running backs. So can Patrick Queen. So now those two guys are interchangeable. So maybe that helps your defense somewhat. Additional help with run stopping. Overall, I give that trade a grade of a B plus. I think for Chicago, they get necessary picks. They're not. I don't know if they're technically rebuilding, but they always want to add pieces and add draft picks to fill out their team the best way they can. And then Baltimore gets a solid solid linebacker, to add to their defense. TJ Hockenson going from the Lions to the Vikings. For me, this is an A for the Vikings. Their offense has already been pretty solid under new head coach Kevin McConnell. They've all been playing pretty well. Now you add a mismatch from the tight end position that TJ Hockenson is. A lot of linebackers can't cover this guy. A lot of secondary safeties can't cover this guy. He's been able to find ways to get open and be productive in Detroit, which you don't think is a team that he would be able to shine on, especially with, all of the pieces and the lack of pieces that they had there. But now he goes to an offense where he's going to shine, because the focal point is Justin Jefferson. And then after Justin Jefferson, it's Dalvin Cook. And then after Dalvin Cook, it's Adam Thielen. So he's probably going to be the third or fourth look within this offense. So now you have somebody that can help the middle of the field, up the seams. Who your guys on the outside are. You can count on Dalvin Cook. For Minnesota, I think this is an amazing trade. They're sitting at 6-1, but this shows me that they are not complacent, that they are moving forward, and they want to continue to get better and open some things up. I think this offense can get really scary, really deadly, really fast. The Miami Dolphins, pretty solid on offense. We know what Mike McDaniel has been able to do with Tua and those weapons on the outside, and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Defensively, I feel like the Dolphins took a little bit of a step back this year. I think past years' defenses have been a little bit better than this particular defense. But I think the one area that they were missing was a pass rusher. I think Melvin Ingram is getting up there in age, so he wasn't producing. And then Jalen Phillips, second year defensive end outside linebacker. He hasn't quite lived up to that potential yet. Again, he's still a young player, still trying to find his way. I think the addition of Bradley Chubb, if he can stay healthy, will open things up for Jalen Phillips. But Miami adds a much-needed pass rusher to that defense. And now we get to see if Chubb can get integrated properly and if they can get things rolling on a more consistent basis on the defensive side of the ball. Again, Calvin really going to the Jaguars. I think ever since his year-length suspension, the Falcons were trying to unload him. I think teams were a little bit leery early on to trade any type of compensation for him. But now with the trade deadline, you can make that move now. Know that, we're already halfway through the season. So we get through the rest of this season. Unfortunately, like I've been saying about the Jaguars, they're a young team that doesn't quite yet know how to finish. So they're likely not going to make the playoffs. They end this season, and then next year, one position that they don't have to focus on in free agency or the draft is wide receiver. They have Christian Kirk, who they signed, and now they bring in a true number one in Calvin Ridley. So this is a future move for them. They still have a young quarterback, a young running back. They can kind of focus more on that offensive line if they want to continue to beef that side up. And then also if they want to continue to add pieces on the defense. So a good solid move for the Jaguars, but again, it won't yield returns until we see one, what kind of shape Calvin Ridley is in when he comes back, and what type of rust he has to knock off. being out of football for a year. But this could potentially be a really, really good move for them. Chase Claypool going from Pittsburgh to Chicago. I think there's other wide receivers in that Pittsburgh offense that kind of pushed Claypool out of the way. And Pittsburgh saw a prime opportunity to recoup their draft value for him. And then what they did was they used the second round pick that they received from the Baltimore Ravens in the Roquan Smith trade to then turn that into Chase Claypool. So I think it's good for this year. It's good for next year. After that, Claypool is going to want a longer contract, but you basically have him for a year and a half. You have him for the remainder of this season and then all of next season to decide, is this somebody you want to have in the fold for the long term and pair him with Justin Fields and let those two young guys, just go crazy? Or does he not fit your scheme? Is he not somebody you want to have in your locker room and you part ways with him and there's really no loss to you? So again, risk versus reward type of move there. That could pay dividends, could not, but very low risk. Of these secondary moves here, William Jackson to Pittsburgh sounds like a Pittsburgh move. I think he's going to be reinvigorated. Chase Edmonds to Denver. I don't know if that moves the needle. I think they were just trying to unload him. I think that was a remorse trade. They signed Edmonds to a 2-year, $12 million deal, and he just didn't fit what Mike McDaniel was trying to do. So he goes to get a running back who knows his system, who can pair well with Raheem Mostert. But of these five, I love the Nyheim Hines to Buffalo. For so long, Nyheim Hines has been a secondary running back. He's been number 2 on the depth chart in Indianapolis. Now he goes to a team that has a solid defense, that has a top 5 young quarterback in this league, has a top 5 wide receiver in this league. And now he gets to be the number 1 guy. I think he comes in and I think he pushes Devin Singletary out the way. I think he comes in and he takes snaps away from James Cook, the rookie, because he's so dynamic with what he can do with the ball in his hands. Great runner with the football. We'll be able to get to see that showcase a little bit more. And he's also great catching the ball out of the backfield, being that security blanket for his quarterback. So I think this is an amazing move. I know that the Bills were in on Christian McCaffrey. I think they did pick up the phone and call Cleveland for Kareem Hunt. Ultimately, they landed on Nyheim Hines and got their running back that they feel that can help them be successful on the offensive side of the ball. So those are the trades. I think a lot of teams did, what they needed to do to get better. Again, love what the Bills did, love what the Vikings did, love what the Dolphins did. So we'll get to see how these old faces in new places help their new teams along. All right, let's move into our quick ones. Let's move into the games from this past week. Let's figure out what we learned. Let's hit these real quick. We're going to start with the Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, this is going to be really quick for me. I think the Jaguars have a stud in Travis Etienne. The amount of yards that he put up, 24 carries, 156 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm not even looking at what his receiving yards were. But again, this Jaguars team go into halftime up 10-7, take the lead in the fourth quarter, 17-14, but ultimately give it up again. A young team that just isn't quite built to win right now. They don't know how to close or finish games. So that's going to be a problem for them until they can kind of mature and figure that out. We know that. Moving to the Miami Dolphins at the Detroit Lions. Detroit had this game in hand. At halftime, it was 27-17, and it looked like Detroit was finally going to get, their second win of the season. However, the Miami Dolphins team able to find a way to come back and get the 31-27 win Tua was 29 of 36, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns. Very efficient with the football. Tyreek Hill, 12 catches, 188 yards. Again, I like what head coach Dan Campbell is doing. I've mentioned this time and time again. I love the culture that he is instilling in Detroit. They just don't have the horses. And they come out and they fight, and they just can't get it done. Miami looks good. They're sitting at 5-3. They add some very necessary pieces, both to the running game and to the pass rush on the defensive side of the ball. So I look to see them, continue playing good football. The Cardinals and the Vikings. Again, Vikings playing really, really good football. They win this game 34-26 at home against the Cardinals. And then they add a special piece in TJ Hockenson to make their offenses that much more dangerous. So I think we learned that the Vikings are for real, and that the Cardinals, inconsistent as always. And, even though Kyler was 31 of 44 for 326 yards and 3 touchdowns, offense can't produce enough, and the defense isn't getting any stops. So that's going to be a problem for them. Raiders and Saints. I'm sorry to Mrs. Mose Nose because she's a Raiders fan, but I have no idea what the Raiders are doing. And to get blanked by the Saints, who started Andy Dalton at quarterback, what is the problem? Like, what's really going on in Oakland? I think what we learned from this game is I don't know if Josh McDaniels is ever going to be a good head coach. I know it's his first year with the Raiders, but unlike other, first year head coaches this season, he went to a program that was already established. He went to a program that had Derek Carr, who is, he's a middle of the road quarterback, but he's of 32 teams. I would say he's top 16, top 20. You get Devontae Adams. You have Josh Jacobs, who the past couple of weeks has shown that he's a very, very good young running back. You have Darren Waller. You have Hunter Renfrow. You're figuring out what's going on that offensive line defensively. Max Crosby, a late-round pick, is a stud. You've got all of these young pieces that you've added, and they just don't know how to win. I don't know if McDaniels doesn't know how to instill culture. I'm trying to figure out what it is. He has a really, really good situation in Las Vegas, and he's not able to figure out how to get it done. This team should not be sitting at 2-5. They're too talented. They have too many weapons. They should not be sitting at 2-5. That's all I'm going to say about that one. Patriots go into New York and beat the Jets 22-17. The Patriots are a really, really perplexing team. When you think they should win, they don't. When you think they should lose, they don't. I thought the Jets were on fire. The Jets were on the roll. And then the Patriots come in with a game plan that was really able to slow down this Jets offense. Now, granted, they did lose their workhorse running back, Breece Hall. They did lose their young offensive tackle, Elijah Vera Tucker. So there is going to be some transition there. So maybe this is one of those games where they're still trying to figure it out what the offensive line is going to do. They're trying to figure out what James Robinson, a player who was acquired in a trade prior to today's trade deadline, they're trying to figure out what his role in the offense is going to be. So maybe it's just one of those games that, injuries, trying to figure things out, only have a week to do it. They weren't able to prepare. So didn't really learn much from this game from either team. I think the Jets will be fine, and I think the Patriots are still going to be on this up and down trajectory all season. Steelers at Eagles. I mean, what can I say? I've been waiting to say something bad about the Philadelphia Eagles all season. And through 8 weeks, it's nothing bad I can say. Nothing bad I can say. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 28, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. 3 of those went to A.J. Brown. 6 catches, 156 yards. He helped me in my fantasy league this week. It is against the Steelers. Steelers aren't scaring anybody. The defense did what they needed to do, held them to 13 points. Offense put up 35. This was an easy home dub for the Eagles. I mean, they're looking like a scary team. Offense is firing on all cylinders. The defense is on fire. They got better, adding pass rusher Robert Quinn. So now you got to worry about all these guys coming up the middle. Hassan Reddick was having an outstanding year, and now you get a competent pass rusher opposite him now. Listen. I mean, as a Niner fan, I'm not scared of Philly, but Philly playing really well. Philly is playing really, really good football. Titans and Texans. Titans win this game 17-10. I think what I learned from this game, I was surprised that the Titans even struggled, but then again, I'm not. I mean, the Titans are 5-2, but that's a weak 5-2. That's a really, really weak 5-2. Of course, they have Derrick Henry, but running him 32 times for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's not sustainable. And if you need to rush him 32 times for 200 yards against the Houston Texans, that's a problem. That's a problem. So Tennessee is giving me imposter vibes. They're a 5-2, but that's a really, really weak 5-2. And the Texans are who the Texans are. Unfortunately, I feel like Lovie Smith is going to be the scapegoat. I don't know if they're going to give him another season beyond this. It's unfortunate for him as well. It was unfortunate for David Culley the year before that. This team is starting all over. You know, you get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, you get rid of J.J. Watt, you get rid of Deshaun Watson, you get rid of all of the cornerstones of this team. You're basically starting from scratch. They have some great young players, but they're just that. They are young players, and they're still building. So I don't expect anything from the Texans, but because of that, I expect the Titans to, whether this is a division game or not, I expect the Titans to win this game and beat this team a little bit more handedly than they did. Commanders and Colts. Man, listen, the Colts, they did me dry. They did me super dirty this week. They had this game in hand, and they let the Commanders come back and beat them by 1 point. Again, both of these teams are middle of the road. Commanders are last in their division. They're not making a wild card. They're going to be middle of the road. And then the Colts are just not good. They're starting a rookie quarterback now. No plans to go back to Matt Ryan. So, yeah, didn't learn much from this game. I didn't put this in my top 5, did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't put this in my top 5 because I didn't need to. The 49ers take care of business in Levi South. 31-14. Christian McCaffrey, first player since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2005 to pass for a touchdown, rush for a touchdown, and catch a touchdown pass. And y'all told me that we should have traded for Christian McCaffrey. Pish posh. Pish posh. Now, again, the Rams aren't good. And that's shocking to say for the defending Super Bowl champion. Yes, they have Jalen Ramsey. Yes, they have Aaron Donald. Yes, they have Cooper Kupp. But as a team, this team is not good. This team does not play us well in the regular season. So I'm not surprised that we won this game, and I'm not surprised we won this game this handedly. What I am surprised about is how Kyle Shanahan opened up his offense a little bit, how he got a little bit more creative. Shout out to my cousin Sid. I don't know if he's watching, but he pointed out that Jimmy Garoppolo finally did a bootleg. Like Kyle finally called a bootleg on the George Kittle touchdown where Jimmy hikes the ball, he bootlegs to his left, gets out of the pocket, resets the pocket, he resets his launch point and is able to find George Kittle in the back corner of the end zone. We need to see more of that. If we don't want him to be a statue in the pocket and stand there and get sacks, run some more of those bootlegs. Get him outside of the normal pocket. Get him away from where these rushers are coming from, just to allow him that a little bit more time and that space and that freedom. What happens when we see that is Jimmy doesn't get happy feet. He not in the pocket tap dancing like Savion Glover. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's able to be a little bit more comfortable, use his athleticism, reset and move the pocket. And he throws a dart to Kittle in the end zone. So look good. We 4-4, not 3-5. Going into the bye, that means we got 2 weeks to get healthy, 2 weeks to get guys back, 2 weeks to prepare for Sunday night against the Chargers. That's in my top 5. That's in my top 5. And that's in my top 5. Okay, so that's all the quick ones. Let's take a look at the chat really, really quickly. Where do we end at? Okay, boom, 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 boom. We got Matt in here for the first time. Shout out, Matt. Love the Hockenson trade for Minnesota. Yeah, absolutely great trade. Absolutely great trade. Minnesota's offense is looking really, really dangerous. So I like what they're able to do. Melissa says, thoughts on Jeff Wilson Jr. to Miami. For the 49ers, I think it was inevitable that we moved on from someone. Our running backs room was getting crowded. You add in Christian McCaffrey. We've got Elijah Mitchell coming back from injury. We have Ty Davis-Price, who is our rookie third-round pick. And Kyle Shanahan seems to love Jordan Mason. Now, Cousin Sid made a good point. He loves Jordan Mason, but hasn't gotten him any touches. Again, that's something we're all perplexed about, cuz. But at the end of the day, Jordan Mason is a younger back that Kyle just doesn't want to move on from just yet. And Kyle understands that teams around this league, personnel departments around this league, are looking at him when it comes to running backs. They know him and his scheme and the way he I guess, produces running backs, you can say. They want to follow that formula. They want to be able to find the next big running back. And what better pool to take from than a Kyle Shanahan running back pool? So more than likely, eyes are going to be on Jordan Mason, and somebody's going to scoop him up. I think he does right by Jeff Wilson by sending him to a good team, a winning team, a coach he's familiar with, a system he's familiar with. So I respect that. He didn't just send him anywhere. He sent him to Miami with Mike McDaniel. This is a scheme that you know, a coach that you're familiar with. You get to pair it with your former teammate, Raheem Mostert, and now both of y'all can wreak havoc down in Miami. So I think it's great for us. We did right by the player, which is always a good thing. And then we also I think it's a great move for Miami. Now they have that thunder and lightning combination. Raheem Mostert was a little bit slow, but he's starting to pick things up now. Now I think you bounce him and Jeff Wilson off of each other. I think that could be a really good tandem down in Miami. Teams are not gonna play in the box, because if you play in the box, then Jalen Waddle and Tariq are going to be on the Audubon and they're going to burn you deep. So I think that's going to help what they want to do in the running game. Mo, would you ever redesign the NK logo? Because I was thinking about redesigning the logo. I was talking to a graphic designer because this logo was something that I had made when I first started the channel. It was something real quick. I found like a cheap graphic designer on Fiverr, let them know what I wanted. And it came out like this. So I know a graphic designer that has done some really, really good graphic designs. He actually designed the logo for the All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. He did that logo. So I was trying to get something a little bit more professional, something a little bit more dope. So it depends on how that one comes out. If that one is fire, then I might have to change it. But if not, then I think everybody has fallen in love with this logo at this point. So I'm going to have to keep it. Smoes, can you please shout out Locker Room? Oh, of course. My brother John V has a podcast. It's called The Locker Room Rant. Go to YouTube. Go to the search bar. Actually, let me do it, and I'll put it in the chat. If y'all could. See, I'm doing this live. So we're going to go here. The Locker Room Rant. There it is. Now, I know y'all can do better than this, but this is a small ask, okay? I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in the chat. Right now, they're at 239 subscribers. I got 23 people watching this. I need 11 people right now. Go to the Locker Room Rant and get them to 250 subscribers by the end of the night. Come on. Come on. Y'all know my slogan. When you subscribe to this channel, when you become a part of Mose Knows Your family, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm asking my family to do me a favor. If you are not subscribed, follow that link that I just posted in the chat. Go over to the Locker Room Rant. My brother John V, he's at 239. Let's get him to 250 by the night. That's a small ask. We should be able to get him to 300, but let's get him to 250 by the night. We got my cousin and I'm shocked that he hasn't gone crazier. We got Son of a Preacher Man. Go to Son of a Preacher Man. Brett, if you still in here, drop your links in the comment. We following everybody tonight. Your TikTok, your IG. If you got your YouTube up, go to Son of a Preacher Man. That's my cousin. I love him. Appreciate you for being in here. He said, create my fandom. Is the league players too young to appreciate the veteran perspective of what winning in big games looks like? It seems like many of them don't know what they have until it's on the big screen. Ooh, Brett, that's a really good question. I'm supposed to be doing these other 5, but you're going to make me tackle this question. Is the league of players too young to appreciate the veteran perspective of what winning in big games looks like? I think in part, yes. I think one of the reasons is because you're starting to see a little bit more parity in college football. Now, we know that there are your powerhouse programs. There's the Alabamas. There's the Georgias. There's the Clemsons. There's the Tennessees. There's the LSUs. There's the Notre Dames. There's the Michigan. But you're starting to see players branch out and go to some of these other programs. The only thing with that is some of these other programs may not have that big game atmosphere. A couple of weeks ago, Tennessee versus Alabama, that game was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that game went into overtime. That's something that you get when you go to these powerhouse Big 10, Big 12, SEC, ACC schools. But there's so much parity across college football where players are branching out and taking their talents to other places. We can talk about Coach Prime down at Jackson State. You know, he's starting to get players from everywhere. His top recruit, Travis Hunter, he could have went to any school he wanted to. He had offers from Bama, Florida State, Clemson, as a wide receiver and as a corner. But he chose to go to Jackson State and HBCU. So it's not to say that he won't be prepared. But will he have that big game like atmosphere and that pressure that you would see at the NFL level? Like when you get to week 17, week 18, and it's a must win for you to even get into the playoffs as a wild card. When you get into that divisional round or that NFC championship game and one play changes the entire complexity of the game. I don't think a lot of these players now, because of so much parity and there's so much talent across the country at so many different levels, Division I, Division II, I don't think they all get that big game experience where you've got 80,000 people in the stands and the lights are on and it's a nationally televised game. And if you make the big play, you're the hero. And if you don't make the big play or you mess up, you're the scapegoat. So that's a really, really good question. I think that's why a lot of teams, they look for that veteran presence and that veteran leadership amongst their players. You know, it's great to be a young team, but you also want to have some vets who've been through some things so that when we're in the heat of the moment or even the week leading up to that game, you can have a veteran come in and say, this is what you should expect from the game. This is what you should expect from yourself. Don't let it get too big. Don't let it make you shrivel up and worry about making a mistake, because when you do that, that's when the bad things happen. So that is a great, great question. Wow. My man, I appreciate you. We got Sin in the building. I'm sorry, Sin. I had to win this week. And it's not fair because I thought the Bengals was going to put up more points and you had your kicker left. And I think he only got like 1 or 2 points or something like that. So I'm sorry, Sin. I had to get a W, because if not, I would have been 3-5 and I would have been upset. So just don't be mad at me. I had to win. We got Chris Hansen in here. I didn't know you had your own channel. Anyways, I sub. Thanks for your content. Oh, Chris, first time here, didn't? Come on, you had to know I had Breezy shouted out all the time. But guess what? You know now. You sub to the channel. You became a know-it-all. You part of the Mo's Knows fam. I love you. Nothing you can do about it. We got T-Jack 478. Josh McDaniels still haven't learned from his previous head coaching job. I don't think he has. I agree with that 100%. Memphis, Maine in the building. Salute, my G. Thank you so much for being here. We got J-Dog Boston. What's up, bro? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the time and attention. We got Uncle Shan in the building. He says, what's good? Let's go Niners. We got our sister Tanya Sayal. What's up, sis? How you doing? Good to see you. Jerome Davis in the building. Mose, are you ready to see this offense explode? I am. We got a potential of what it could be without having everybody present. We didn't have Debo. We didn't have Drops McGee, Jawan Jennings. We didn't have Kyle Juszczyk. We get those guys back after the bye. This should be the jolt of life that Kyle needed. It should be. My cousin here, listen, he was talking a lot of trash, and rightfully so. My 49ers went down to Atlanta to see his Atlanta Falcons, and they rightfully got us up on out of there. But I don't think he's happy. He said Atlanta done messed up and traded Calvin Ridley. Yeah, they did. And I think they pulled the trigger too fast, because they started, early in the season, the first 3-4 games, they really started featuring Drake London. Now, I know because of that, teams are going to adjust and they're going to change some things around. But it's like Mariota forgot who his number one target is. I don't think the injury to Cordell Patterson kind of takes anything away from that. They aren't able to run the ball as effectively, but Drake London is 6'5". He's your number one. He's a big target. You know he can go up and high point the ball. You know he can box out smaller corners, in the possession game if you need a first. I don't know why they went away from him. I don't think defenses are afraid of him or scared of him or want to take him out of the game that much to where you can't go to him. I don't know what that problem is, what the problem is there. So I would have kind of held on to Calvin and kind of saw where he was. And then if next season, either before the trade on or at the trade deadline, he's not what you thought he would be coming back, then you make the trade. But Calvin Ridley and Drake London together, and maybe Mariota isn't the quarterback. Maybe it's Desmond Ridder. So Desmond Ridder in his second year, already under the system for a year. Now you give him Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Calvin Ridley? What? I don't know. I would have held on to him. I agree with you, because I don't know if I would have made that trade. Can you shout out Keep? I can, cuz. On Facebook, if you look up Keep, Keep is a social media streaming content community. Let me know if I'm saying this right. Yeah, it's a streaming content community on Facebook where we talk about items or things in popular culture through streaming services. So Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, all the shows that are coming out. And it's a community where folks can gather and not just talk about, oh my goodness, did you see this episode? This person is crazy, but have intellectual dialogue about some of the themes and stories that are being told through these streaming platforms. So if that's something that you're into, if you're someone who watches Netflix faithfully and Hulu and all those shows and want a community of like-minded people who have intelligent conversations about what they're seeing and how it's making them feel and things of that nature, look up Keep on Facebook. Let's see. Anybody new who I didn't hit? Y'all gonna have me in the comments all night. Andrew Martinez, Chris Hansen, what's up, cousin? So we see it's a family affair. We in here. We got Jermaine Jenkins in the building. Moles, this is the first year I've sat back and not cut up in front of the TV since Trey went down. It's been questionable for me. I'm tired of going through the ups and downs. I think I'm with you, man. We're a team that's talented enough to not have to go through the ups and downs that we go through. It's just that simple. We're too talented of a team to be going through the ups and downs. We should be 6-1. I think the Chiefs, they beat us. They whooped our behind. We should be 6-1, 7-1. You know, we shouldn't have lost to Atlanta the way we did. I don't think we showed up. We shouldn't have lost to the Broncos by 1 point, 11-10. That's like a World Series score. We shouldn't have lost to Chicago week 1. It's just like some games we show up, some games we don't. Now, fortunately for us, the games we showed up were division games. We're 3-0 in our division. That's great. But ultimately, the games early on that we should have won, we didn't win. And you're absolutely right. That's too many ups and downs for a team as talented as we are. I agree with you 1,000%. Andrew says, I'm not a fan of the games on Amazon. I'm not, because you got to go to a whole different place to get to them. Like, they're not on ESPN or NFL Network. Like, you got to go out of your cable into the streaming platform. And I think they got too many talking heads. I think who's on that? It's Tony Gonzalez, Richard Sherman, Andrew Whitworth, Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's too many people. It's too many people. It's too convoluted. I'm with you. I'm not a fan of it. Shout out to World Logan 1. What up, Mo's? Red and gold all day. You know it. Spider 1000 MTG says facts. We got Rod Cali 247. What up, Mo's? I didn't get a chance to meet you while in Atlanta, but it's all good. Keep grinding and putting out quality content. Much respect. Yeah, listen. I apologize that we didn't get a chance to link up. Next game I go to, well, I'll let everybody know. If you're going to be at that game, let me know, and I'll make sure that I got my head on a swivel, and I'm looking for y'all, man, because we family for real. We got Raymond and Emily Jones. Mose, you know I'm always on Jimmy Neck, but I got to give him his due. We need this Jimmy every week. Thank you for saying this. Thank you for adding this to the conversation, because I want people to know that for the 49er fans who are hard on Jimmy Garoppolo, it's not that we don't want him to be our quarterback. It's because we want him to play better. It's that simple. The Eagles fans were on Jalen Hurts' neck until this season. Why? Because he came and he played better. The team did what they needed to do by giving him the weapons. Now it was up to Jalen Hurts. He had no excuses. You got all the weapons that you need. We got a defense. Now you got to go out and prove that you are our starting quarterback. And guess what Jalen Hurts did? He's proving every single week that he is the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles and that they don't need to look anywhere else. And the point is Jimmy can play like this. We know he's able to play like this. We just don't understand where these lapses of judgments come from. It's about being consistent, right? We talk about consistency. My wife and I, we talk about consistency. Being consistent in everything you do. That's how you become great, is being consistent. The reason why I still haven't lost the weight I wanted to lose, because I ain't been consistent with diet and exercise. I can't blame nobody but myself. Hate to be self-deprecating, but that's a great example. I want to lose weight. I want to be up here looking like Aaron Donald, all swollen, but I ain't being consistent in my diet and exercise. Too many excuses. Jimmy Garoppolo is not being consistent in his play. How come we didn't see another example? How come we didn't see any of those dumb Hail Mary at the goal line, just toss it up because I'm getting pressured throws from Jimmy Garoppolo against the Rams? It wasn't because he wasn't getting pressured. He got sacked 3 times. You either move the pocket, get outside of the tackle box and throw the ball away, or you take the sack. You don't just throw the ball up for anybody to get. So he made a correction to his game and didn't make the same mistake again. The only unfortunate thing about Jimmy Garoppolo is sometimes he reverts back to those same mistakes. And that makes sense for a rookie or a second-year quarterback, but not somebody who's been in the league 9 years, who's been to 3 Super Bowls and won 2 as a backup. You shouldn't be making those silly mistakes. So he gets his due. Jimmy Garoppolo played a great game on Sunday and was part of the reason why we won. And even in that game, he almost threw 2 picks that was dropped. Well, I'm just saying. But he get credit when he does well. I'm almost coming up on time. Mrs. downstairs watching. She probably looking at her watch right now. She said he was supposed to be done at 8 o'clock. It's 7:53. So he got 7 minutes because she want to watch this movie. What is it, babe? Barbarians? She want to watch this movie. And I told her we would. So let me hurry up. Cleveland Browns and Cincinnati Bengals. I think what I learned from this game is Cincinnati has a tough time moving the ball without Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow is good. Joe Mixon is good, but it looks like Jamar Chase is the engine that makes this offense go. Yeah, they have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, but this team wasn't really able to do much on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, it's a division game. It's a division rival, but I didn't expect Cincinnati to go down like that. With how they were moving the ball the past couple of games, Joe Burrow on fire. For them not to be able to put up points until the fourth quarter and only able to put up 13, yeah, that's not a good look. So they dodged a bullet by not being able to put Jamar Chase on IR, but he's still going to be out a couple weeks. We're going to have to see how that affects them moving forward. Packers versus the Buffalo Bills. Bills win this one 21-17. Packers dropped to 3-5. Aaron Rodgers is pedestrian without Devontae Adams. Aaron Jones cannot do it all. He tried 20 carries, 143 yards, 4 catches for 14 yards. They don't have anything outside of Aaron Jones. This team they're just not good. And now there are rumblings that the defensive players aren't happy. So now your offense can't move the ball and the defense is not happy. Uh-oh. Trouble in paradise. The Bills are who we thought they were. They're 6-1. Ravens at Buccaneers. Ravens take this one 27-22. They had a very pedestrian first half. Lamar Jackson and crew turned it up, found a way to get the W in the second half, putting up 24 to 27 points. This Buccaneers team, again, they don't look the same. Yes, Tom was 26 of 44 for 325 yards. But they aren't able to run the ball. Only 15 carries for 44 yards. Evans and Goodwin, they look how they're supposed to look. 12 catches for 200 yards for those two guys. But I think the defense is where the problem is. They're not able to stop the run. They gave up 231 rushing yards. Ugh. I didn't know it was that bad. They gave up 231 rushing yards for an average of 7 yards a carry to the Baltimore Ravens. So they're not able to stop the run, and they're not getting pressure. I mean, they did have 3 sacks, but they're not getting pressure at the same clip that they used to. Surely they're not getting pressure like that defense that won the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and held them without a touchdown. There's a lot of turmoil going on in Tampa Bay. I don't know if they'll be able to get it turned around. You would think they would with Tom Brady, but not really sure about that one. This was a football game. The Atlanta Falcons getting a dub versus the Carolina Panthers, 37-34. Now, granted, the Falcons should have lost this game. The Falcons should have lost this game. An amazing throw by P.J. Walker to DJ Moore at the end of the game for the go-ahead touchdown. And what happens? In the words of Peyton Manning, the stupid liquored up kicker, Eddie Pinheiro, misses the extra point, leaves the game tied at 34. We go into overtime. Then he misses a kick in overtime, and that allows Younghoe Koo to come down after the offense put him in good field position to get the game-winning field goal. This was a back-and-forth divisional battle, a really, really fun game to watch. I don't think we learned much from either team. We at least know the Carolina Panthers are going to fight. It looks like they were supposed to have a fire sale. They got rid of McCaffrey. They got rid of Robbie Anderson. There were talks that they may get rid of Brian Burns or some other players. They didn't make any more moves. I don't know if P.J. Walker is the quarterback of the future. However, they did play well. And they played well enough to win this game. It just didn't go in their favor. Falcons are 4-4. They're middle of the pack. I think with the way this division is looking right now, they have a chance to win the division. I'm sorry, Zach. I don't think this team has enough to make noise if they make it into the tournament. If they win their division, they're going to be a top 4 seed and get a home game. That can always help them, but I don't think they have enough firepower to really be a threat when it comes to the playoffs. Last game of the week, Cowboys put a whooping on the Bears, 49-29. I think Dak Prescott back in the starting lineup kind of invigorated his team a little bit. I don't know why they haven't done it. Tony Pollard should be the starting runner back in Dallas. I said it. I put it out there. That's what should happen. Tony Pollard should be the starting running back. Zeke should spell him. It shouldn't be the other way around. And Dallas's defense playing really, really good football. It's going to take an offensive genius, an offensive mastermind to kind of confuse them a little bit and get them off their square, kind of like what Kyle Shanahan did last year. But this Dallas team is good. They're at 6-2. They're going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting with the Giants and the Eagles. That's going to be a good battle to watch in the NFC East. Not a division that I saw being a powerhouse division in the NFL this year. I thought that would be more of the AFC West. We know the Chiefs are good. I thought the Chargers would be better. I thought the Broncos would be better. And I thought the Raiders would be better. But it's actually the NFC East that is the powerhouse division in the league this year. So it's going to be a good battle between the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants to see who can take that division. Chicago's making some moves. They have, I think after the Roquan Smith trade, they said they have 9 draft picks and over $100 million in cap space. They'll probably have 8 draft picks now because they sent one of those picks to Pittsburgh for Chase Claypool. So I think you add Chase Claypool and then, all the picks that they have and the salary cap space. Chicago's in a good spot. All right, y'all. That is going to do it for my Week 8 recap. A bunch of crazy stuff going on at the trade deadline. A lot of teams got better. A lot of teams are just preparing and building for the future and that 2023 off season. So we are halfway through. I reached out to the bro, Jesse Naylor. He was really, really busy this week. So what we're going to do is we're going to push our mid-season review that Jesse and I do together. We're going to push that to next week after week 9 games. We're going to do some mid-season rewards. We're going to take an outlook at the current division standings and playoff seeding. So who are our four teams at the top of our division? Who are our 3 wild card spots? Who is on the bubble? We'll take a look at all of that next week. Don't know. I believe that's going to be on Thursday. So we may not get a show on Tuesday. I may do 2 shows back-to-back on Thursday. The Mo's Knows Fantasy and then my mid-season review with Jesse. But that's what's going to happen here at Mo's Knows. We will see you guys on Thursday for Mo's Knows Fantasy. Love and appreciate all of you guys. Until next time. Peace.